Welcome to this Aztlander presentation, Mapping the Secret Landscape of El Soch, a century of research in the northern Chixoy Highlands of Guatemala, with Rodrigo Guzman Piedrasanta of the University of Central Florida. Enjoy!
Good evening, everybody. I am Rodrigo Guzman. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for the honor of the invitation to present uh, this research with the community of the Aztlander. Thank you to Jim Reed for allowing me to be here tonight. Um, this research was part of my honors in the major thesis to get the degree of archaeologist in Guatemala back in 2010. So I'm trying to get back to this research to refine some of the information and try to produce more information and make more make a publication out of this. So I will start uh, let you know where El Soch is. It's a site in the Maya Highlands. It is located in the western portion of the Maya Highlands. It is at the in the mid course of the famous Chixoy River. I think the Chixoy River will uh, make an important. It will be an important component of the discussion of tonight. It is located in the jurisdiction of the modern department of Quiché in Guatemala, within the municipality of Uspantan, and about 5 hours drive from Chichicastenango towards the north. We're going to talk about the archaeological regions of Guatemala. Perhaps most of you are related with them, but we're gonna go through them a little bit. So we have the lowlands, the Maya lowlands with Tikal, El Mirador, Cancuen. We have the central Maya lowlands with Caminal Huyu, the northern highlands that we're going to be talking about tonight, the east that has the east of Guatemala and some of the Izabal region, the western highlands, which has all the Cuchumatanes region, and the Pacific coast. The Chixoy River is located right in the middle of the Northern Highlands, and the site of El Soch is located in the mid course of this important river. Something important to notice with this region of El Soch and the central Maya, northern Maya highlands is that it's a natural path between three mountain range, the Cochumatanes, the Tracus mountain range, and the Chaman mountain range, which shapes the uh, the landscape in a way that created valleys and mountain passes that allowed for that interesting interaction, especially during the classic and post-classic period. So this topography made this uh, created this a group of valleys where a lot of archaeological sites were settled during the classic period, and we have uh, very interesting sites all over the Chixoy River course, from the upper course to the lower course. So we have sites from the Ixil area, we have sites from the mid course of the Chixoy River near Salaman, near Coban. So there's a lot of cultural activity happening during the classic period there. In addition, towards the north, we have all this connection to the Maya lowlands, and we have two important sites in the course of the Chixoy River towards the north, which is the site of Chama, from where the famous Chama vessels comb. We can find some of them in the museums because unfortunately they have been looted during the uh, 20th century. And we have also the site of Salinas de los Nueve Cerros. Recently, there was a presentation from Dr. Brent Woolsfield, the director of the project, about Salinas de los Nueve Cerros. And it is located towards the north of the site of El Soch. So it has a very interesting relationship. The location of the Soch have a very interesting relationship with the Maya lowlands, with the southern Maya lowlands, and with the central and northern Maya highlands. We also have a very important connection of the Soch because toward the west, it has a huge settlement from the Ixil area. So the Soch is located right in the passage from the Ixil area towards the Chixoy River. Also, during my research back in 2010, I identified at least uh, three regions of archaeological sites. We have the region of El Soch with some nearby sites, this Chichico and La Pita Floja. We have the sites towards the north where we see Chama, the sites toward the west without the Ixil area, the area towards the southwest without this uh, upper Chixoy River region with Sacapulas and Chutinamit, a very important site of the classic and post-classic period, and the mid-course of the Chixoy River with important sites like Cahuinal and Los Encuentros. Um, those sites were explored a lot by French archaeological missions during the 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s and 90s. And unfortunately, because of the social unrest that happened in Guatemala during the 80s, a lot of the research in this area stopped. So to talk about the regional topography, the site of El Soch, which is within this intersection of mountain range, creates a lot of topography. So El Soch is located right in a passage that connects the Chixoy River towards the Ixil area. And we have a satellite photograph that shows a little bit more in detail the Chixoy River um, running north and this passage within the mountain range and the elevations that can be followed towards the Ixil area. So some of the first reports that we know from the Soch comes from the early times in the 19th century. And I would like to read the report that came to in the journal The Herald that doesn't exist anymore in Guatemala, but was one of our newspapers at the beginning of 19th century. So I just want to ask if my Word document is not blocking the slide.
No, you're good.
Okay, thank you. So it was the journalist Miguel G. Elgueta who published this on the Saturday of April 24th, 1910. And he was reporting a trip to El Soch. And he said, we returned to Uspantan to take the Soch Road, about 36 or 40 leagues from the Quiche area. This area of incalculable size is under the jurisdiction of Uspantan. These lands are partly cultivated with coffee, tobacco, and sugarcane fields. bordering the farm of Don Francisco Cobian. To the east is a small coffee, sugarcane, and tobacco farm, owned by a man who was Norberto N. This man had another farm 2 leagues down of a riverbank of the Chixoy River, about 15 leagues below the Great Bridge to Coban. This bridge measures 300 yards wide uh, and is a magnificent and daring construction currently underway in the government of the constitutional president of the Republic, Mr. Manuel Estrada Cabrera. Uh, we knew of the ruins. We knew of the ruins that existed on this gentleman estate, who, to ignite of desire to see them, showed us some very beautiful and fine vessels, 3 talismans, a small necklace of white beads shaped like small eggs, and 2 very well-made gold hats that weighed uh, half half an ounce each. The path descending hills with the slopes were so dangerous that, with the slightest carelessness of imbalance due vertigo, one would fall into the abyss. We finally arrived at the ruins in person and were overwhelmed with bitterness upon contemplating that this gentleman had had the barbarity or savagery to dig a canal over that sumptuous cities of ruins. That was a terrible desecration that shocked us too much. We walked through the cane field at risk of being bitten by some viper, of which there are many. The ruins were destroyed, but the remains were sumptuous buildings. The city streets were paved with hewn stone, and the signs of doorways, aqueducts, and columns of its buildings revealing magnificent architecture and an advanced civilization. Uh, why would the ancient people would have funded that admirable city in that isolated and dangerous place with no means of communication on the near banks of that mighty river with its rushing currents? The river is so wide there, more than 400 yards, so deep and full of large stones. It has no bridge anywhere, nor can be blocked or crossed by boats anywhere because of the force of its waves. We reached a certain point where Señor Norberto told us, "This is where my crowbar sank," and I took out the little hats kept in a small pot, and the other objects that were shown up there. We returned to the Soch state with difficulty because of the dangerous slope, and fainted from pain and exhaustion. We left the place of ruins called La Pitu Floyer. We're going to talk about this later. Um, once this house after was once at his house after a while, uh, we offered this gentleman any of the 3 beasts that we had, which were good, for the little hats and the other objects. He didn't accept the exchange, but he offered to donate those things if I could get him a statue of Virgin of the Soledad in his glass pump, since he wanted to put La Soledad to his sugar cane crops in the ruins without losing that name of La Pita Floja. And he begged us to advise him how he should combine the 2 names, whether La Pita Floja y La Soledad. We advised him, mocking his simplicity, to prefer La Pita Floja de la Soledad. And of course, accepting it as an article of good faith, it remained named that way to this day. We did everything possible among the Catholics and good Christians of the Western Highlands to achieve such an image, unfortunately without success. This article was written in San Antonio, Suchitepeques in March 31st, 1910. So, oh, sorry. This site was later visited by Robert Burkitt in 1930 within Carnegie Institution of Washington. He took some important pictures, and that's how we have the evidence of the presence of a stela in one of the groups and the state of the buildings. Also, because of these reports, the site appeared in the version of the map of Middle America created by the Middle America Research Institute in 1940. So, in 2007, the community of Chicaman, which was a community created in 1984, municipality created in 1984. This community has developed a program of tourism to develop the area, which was in cooperation with the Peace Corps of the United States and the municipality of Chicaman. So the volunteers from the Peace Corps approached Universidad del Valle de Guatemala to tell about this archaeological site that was kept by the Familia Garcia, the Garcia family, which owned the farm named Puente de Piedra Maya Soch, which holded the core of the archaeological site. So we went there, we held some meetings with the family, with the municipality, with the Peace Corps, with the tourism department of the municipality, in order to start an archaeological project and have some excavations and learn a little bit more about the site and its participation in the socio-political dynamics of the area. Then in 2008, a group of students from Universidad del Valle, led by professional archaeologists, started conducting this project that spent 3 years, and with the result of learning about the materials, the local materials and the regional materials that run through this area, the map of the site, and two students wrote their honors in the major thesis at this site. One was me, and the other was now Dr. Raul Ortiz, who made his PhD at the University of Arizona with Dr. Takeshi Inomata. And yeah, in the project, the seasons ended in 2010, and since then, after that, I think only one person came back to do a honors in the major thesis related with tourism. So we can see here a picture of the volunteers from the Peace Corps helping us to go down to the Chixoy River and seeing one of the sites, peripheral sites that is in that area. So tonight I'm going to talk about the map that we created at the site. We are talking about pre-LiDAR times. So basically, we had to do a pedestrian survey to be able to know the distribution of the structures, and with the amount of time that we had available, we were able to take a general picture of the distribution of the site. The site is organized in two main groups, Group A and Group B, and is surrounded by a series of terraces that, according to the excavation, some of them were used for residential purposes. The core of the site is divided. It has a creek, a ravine between the two groups, with the water flowing towards the Chixoy River and draining all the rainwater um, during the rainy season. Usually, this creek remains dry. However, there is also like some creeks that runs towards this main creek that flow water all the time because it's water running from caves. So basically, the core of the sites were located in specific locations where caves had water running towards the creek. So that's very crystalline water, very clean water that runs within the sites. So at the southeast is the what we call the Group A, uh, with at least eight structure, sorry, at least 11 structures. One of them a platform, and this has a very special characteristic because it has what we think is a ball game court running northwest towards southeast with a temple with twin stairs, which we can see a lot in this Chixoy River region. Uh, this is a three-dimensional view with the technology that we had available at that time in 2008 that shows this ball game and the temples and the creek running in the back. We can see some similarities with other sites in the area, both in the Ixil area, like Nevaj, and in the uh, middle Chixoy River. So there's some similarities, not in orientation, but we see this ball game or these two elongated structures at places one next to the other with the temple with sometimes is what it has reported the twin stairs, the pattern of the twin stairs. In one of our excavations, at the beginning of the excavations, we were able to identify the shape of the stairs. Of course, the temples have been deteriorated, so they need a little bit of restoration, but we were able to see these twin stairs and take measures on them and document them. Also, something very interesting that from this group A, uh, that's the view, the north view from group A, so we can see how tall the mountains are from one side to the other. So basically, this is a very it has a very steep step from the to the north and to the south. So this is a very narrow passage between the mountains to go from the Chixoy River towards the Ixil area. We also have in the north west of the site the Group B with a massive sunken ballcourt game, which is according to the measures, we are talking about 50 meters. So it's comparing with other with other ball games in the Highlands, is the size is big, and we have these temples that are the temples B1 and B2, which are very characteristic of the region, and we are going to see some images for comparison with other sites. So we have here our group B from El Soch, and those are the drawings provided by students at that time, and now they have their PhD. Um, this was drawn by Diego Albures, who has now a PhD in economy and works at the Max Planck Institute in Germany. And this drawing of structure B1 was drawn by Dr. Alejandra Roche, who now teaches at Leiden University. So we see the similarities in the organization of structures from Group B of El Soch and the site of El Jocote in the mid course of the uh, Chixoy River. Also, a similarity in the design of the buildings. For example, this is the case of the site of Chicruz. And this is a picture taken by Christopher Martinez, who was the director of the project in 2009. He conduct some consolidation of the site in order to hide a little bit the looting. Of course, in the site, the building needs a little bit more of consolidation or restoration work now, but that's how it looks, at least how it looks in 2009. On the site, through the excavations, archaeologist Dr. Marion Hatch was able to revise the collection and see that there were ceramics from the Solano tradition that marked the classic period migration patterns that were going through the site. Some of the markers of that period were found at the excavation. But something very interesting is that the site also had local types. And this porotic type was very common in the excavations, and this Soch orange and Soch red was like a typical ceramic found at the site. So it was very interesting to isolate the regional ceramics and the local ceramics. Also, we have here more comparisons from the group A of the Soch with the map, like a larger image. Uh, Especially it calls my attention the temple, the organization of the temples of the site of Cap, and the group A of El Soch, and the group B of Nevaj that also is very similar. And the group of San Francisco that also had a similar design. It's not exactly the same, but it has similar setting. And this is 3D image, of course, with the limitation of digital limitations of the time and the availability of points taken by the survey, but we can see the dimensions of the sunken ballcourt and the two main temples of Group B. And now a larger comparison with this site of El Jocote in the mid-course of the Chixoy River, which shows that they were following some patterns, some regional patterns in their architecture. Again, the comparison with the site of Chicruz. And again, we see that there is some similarities, especially we tend to see similarities of Group A with the Ixil area, and similarities of the Group B with the Chixoy River mid course. So I think there were like two different waves of influence or cultural interaction that influence them to build in one way or the other. So it's believed that Group A is a little bit older than Group B with the bigger ball game court. And going back to the exploration from the Carnegie Institution, we can see the pictures as that were taken in 2029 when the visit was made. So we can see the state of the building, perhaps a little bit less of looting, but of course the buildings were already damaged, but they were already collapsing. And we have the relationship of this site with the environment, which is taking advantage of the location to cut the pass through the mountain passages. And so we see here next to the creek, there is a modern road that runs from the Ixil area towards the modern village of El Soch. And if they follow that road, they can go south to Chicaman, north to the Zona Reina, and east continuing to the Chixoy River. Okay, so there is other two sites that I need to talk about, which are the site of Chichico, which is very close to El Soch. And the important thing of this site is the presence of another massive uh, uh, ball game court. And I was not able at the time to map it because it's very important to have the permission of the communities before arriving with equipment and start taking measure. Even the site is in private property, as we did at El Soch. It is very important to have the community informed that we are going to be around doing some mapping. Something a side note from this site. The name of Chichico comes from this stone that used to be a standing stone. And when we arrived in 2008, I think, or nine, the stone was fell down. But there is a story, one of the famous stories of stones, that a person who came to this site to profane the site, and he tried to leave with, I think, with artifacts or something that he found in his looting activity. But at some point, he become into a stone because he was stealing things from the site. So it's a very interesting folk story. And the other site nearby is this La Pita Floja, which was depicted in the story from Miguel Elgueta at the Herald. And that was the site that they were walking down. Uh, they walked down. That's the Chixoy River, seen from the upper part of uh, of the trail. This is, I think, the end of the El Soch Trail. It's a long, it's a very very long descent. Uh, it has some architecture with some rocks creating walls. We were able to do a small map during a day of visit. However, uh, they were trying to do excavations the next day, but the owners of this part of the site didn't uh, agree with it, so they didn't allow it to do uh, excavations. And now, because of the creation of the Chixoy River electric dam, so the cows of the river went down. So the river, even the river has changed from 1910 to now. So the river now is a very calm and a beautiful color river. So the Department of Tourism of Chicaman with the Peace Corps, they develop a project of tubing. So basically, they do like they made this part of the river like a water park where they can go on a tube and just go through the river and have a trip. They travel a good portion of the river and they get picked up uh, like a couple of kilometers down. So I think this is the presentation that I have for you today. I will be open for questions and any discussion. And I really appreciate for your attention and for allowing me to present you the research, part of the research or a portion of the research, part of the mapping research that we were doing there back in 2008 to 2010.
Well, thank you, Rodrigo. That was very nice. I didn't get a chance to individually greet everybody and thank everybody for attending, but I do want to thank everybody that has stuck with us. Um, let's see, we have one question from Carrie Norton Horschel. There appears to be a jaguar statue at the bottom of the stairs in Group B with a possible offering bowl. Can you tell us about it?
Oh yeah, the Jaguar is not at the site of El Soch, it's at the site of Chicruz. And I think the jaguar has been removed, and now it belongs to a private collection that is often displayed. Uh, we believe when the Licenciado Christopher Martinez were digging there that perhaps the um, the building that is very similar had uh, some sort of stucco figure carved there, but it was removed as well. So we are not 100% sure of that, but we remember seeing uh, after cleaning this that front floor that something was carved there. So perhaps not as big as a jaguar, but something smaller. And usually it's believed that they were used to place offerings for the buildings as part of the uh, ritual and spiritual activity of that time.
Rodrigo, do you mind closing out of your program?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, there you are. Carrie continues. She goes, are there any specific landscape architecture features in the area of El Soch that you found interesting?
Yes, I was particularly impressed by the ball court in Group V because it's massive. And basically, they use a technique of cut and fill. And so they selected a part of the mountain and they just cut what they needed to cut and fill the rest and created a very beautiful eye shape um, ball court, which being there, it looks very impressive.
I noticed a couple of the other site maps you showed of the other sites, they also had eye-shaped ball courts. Was that something special for the time period, or I know if
Yeah, that's
Bay is also like that.
yeah, that's more related with the late ball courts, like more associated with the post-classic period and the end of the classic period. The other side, the ball court is in the group A is smaller. That supports more the idea that perhaps the group A is a little bit older, probably from the classic period and early and late classic period. And the group B is more related with the late classic and early post-classic. And we don't have yet um, evidence of the late post-classic period, so probably the site was abandoned at the end of the early post-classic period, which is interesting. It might have a connection with trade routes and the use of this passage among mountains, like the passage was open or not used. That's a research question that we still have.
It was interesting you mentioned the tube riding down the river. That looks like a beautiful place to go tubing. I'd like
Oh
to.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a very paradisiac place with the color of the river. So like, uh, actually, I think the name Chixoy River comes from is a translation of Black River, like in a Maya language, which means a black river because of the color of the water. But after the dam was built, uh, the level of water went down, and it turned it into this beautiful color, and the current slowed it down as well. So
Oh,
that's how we met it in 2010.
yeah, it has the color of agua azul there near
Yeah,
Palenque.
even the some of the students and Peace Corps volunteers were encouraged to swim in the water. So definitely a different landscape of what the ancient Maya had there.
Hmm. And were any of the artifacts found possibly the result of trade with other sites in Guatemala?
Parmica,
Were the artifacts,
yes,
yeah.
yes, we found some ceramics that come from the central Quiche area, this ceramic fortaleza, which is very characteristic of the Quiche people from the central Quiche area. And of course, obsidian is always present, jade, and so yeah, there is it seems like artifacts that stay there. Not too many, but I think enough to think that they were keeping some of the products that were being traded in the Northern Highlands.
Hmm. Alan comments that the Uspatan area is gorgeous. He lived nearby Kunin for 8 months in 77 and visited Uspatan often. He understands completely why the Maya chose the area.
Yeah, the weather is really nice. I think a lot of people, a lot of during the periods, different periods of the story, the social history of that area, different groups has chosen to go there to the ancient Maya. Different groups, different linguistic groups meet there. There's a meeting point uh, between the Ixil groups, the Quiche groups, the the Pokemon groups, and the Kekchi groups. So it seems like a very attractive area. The weather is really nice. The views are really nice. Um, and the land tend to be very fertile. So that's why it's chosen for to harvest sugarcane, coffee, and other products.
And I did step away for a couple minutes, but asking about the caves. Were the caves around El Such, can you determine if they were used, were they large enough to have ceremonial purposes?
Well, the caves they were not big enough to get inside the caves,
Oh.
but they had like a current of water running perennial all the time from there, and we found some ceramic shards, some fine ceramics as well. Unfortunately, we didn't have the time to conduct excavations at the caves. That's some part of the research that remains pending. However, we think because of the location of the cave that is not more than 200 meters from the southern temple of Group A, it might have an important uh, eh, component. It might be an important component in the construction of that sacred landscape of the site.
Mhm. And the structures, um, can you tell if they were more just sort of public gathering places, or there elite residences where um and
Oh, yeah, the structure, especially the in the Group A, uh, the structure in the north is sorry, the structure in the south with the with the twin staircases. It is used to be understood as a temple for an authority, being this like a spiritual authority, like a priest, or a social authority, like a government, a local government.
Hmm.
The other two temples, the one that is similar that of Chicruz with the jaguar, they tend to be more ceremonial. But there were other houses like uh, next to the big ball game. There's some walls that we believe that it might be used as well as a elite residence. But I think only the elite had access to the core of the site, and that's why they were a lot several uh, structural terraces in the slope of the mountains used as a residential area for other segments of the community.
And I know you showed the 3D images, but have you had any LiDAR that really gets down to the household mound level?
Yeah, unfortunately, we haven't done LiDAR yet. I think this project was conducted in a pre-LiDAR era, so at that point, it could have been very useful. But I think it's a very good starting point to propose going back and do some terrestrial LiDAR to the building and some aerial LiDAR that now the technology is more available with drones.
All right.
And yeah, we believe in there is a modern community of El Soch, which is in a valley down the creek. And we believe that during the classic period, at the time that the Soch was occupied, there was also like a local village there
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's always reports of archaeological artifacts found in the crops of the farmers there.
Hmm. Uh, for Diane, you just came in, but you're an hour late. But I want you to know that there's always a recording available, maybe 4 or 5 days from now, but there's always a recording of this excellent uh, Aztlander program that'll be available. And if I don't have your email address, please uh, give me your email address in the chat and I'll make sure you get to see the recording. Is there anybody that would like to unmute and ask Rodrigo a question?
Yeah, Jim, I had a quick question or two. Thank you, Rodrigo, for a great presentation about a little known site. Uh, one of my questions was asked is was there any excavations done on the entrance of the spring because uh, of course, the documentation by Gerard and others who know that those springs for those creeks and rivers were highly and entrances were of highly ritualized significance there. But I was wanted to know about the size of the ball court there. I mean, just as a comparative, in comparison to, let's say, the ball court at Chichen, uh, it, the size of that ball court is quite extraordinary. And I was wondering, uh, as a comparable, how big is it to, say, the Chichen ball court? Is it of equivalent size? Is it half as big, a third as big?
Yes, at that time when I was doing the comparisons, I was thinking like this ball court is massive. It's even larger than the Ixil ball courts. And I remember I based some rough calculations of this being like the 80% of the Chichen Itza uh, ball court. Of course, I think more measurements need to be taken. Well, I have that map with the total station, but um, probably at that time I didn't found like enough information from the Chichen Itza ballcourt to compare. That's something I need to get back, but definitely it goes in the size in the side of the large ballcourts.
So the largest ball court. So because of that hierarchy of scale, it's just so massive. Do you think that that is one of the main reasons why the people gathered at that site to sort of play ball on top of the world, and gather community and around that sport of kings and life and death?
Yeah, probably was something similar, but something more like the ballcourt was the result of the quantity of community
Uh,
that gathered there,
mm,
or the community that used that area as a passage from one region to the other. So it's like because there's not too many room to build things, so they had to do a very ingenious or very magnificent engineering work to be able to create something of that dimension. So I think they were responding to the importance of the location and the quantity of people that they were able to gather at the same location.
okay, great. And my last question,
And
yeah, go ahead.
I didn't respond about the spring and yes, the excavations at the spring we were intending to do that. However, the the owner of the farm is very cautious about preserving the forest and the water to keep the water clean. So it's like we needed to approach approach that with extreme cautious to conduct some digging there. And basically, we didn't have time to get into that point of the research, but it was intended, but they never conducted.
Okay, great. And finally, my last question is the temple that you showed that was a raised temple. I think it had more of a platform that had the four stairways and the sort of quatrefoil of the
Yeah,
well. Is that typical of that time? It almost looks like you know. A cosmogram in a way, built out of Legos. That it's a very short, stout temple in which has the sort of cosmogram square with the stairways producing a sort of forked
like
figure. Is that typical of that time and era? Because there's something similar that on La Mohara Stela 1, I think it was, where it has that quatrefoil look on the top platform.
yes, that type of structures or temples, they were pretty common in at the time uh, and in the region.
Hmm.
So a lot of sites in the mid course of the Chixoy River had that type of composition. It's very interesting because some of them depict the talud tablero, which is the second time in Mesoamerica that the talud tablero come into architecture. The first time, well, of course, with the Teotihuacan influence, and the second time is something more like a less more spread that everybody especially in the central Mexico area, they are using this old design of the talud tablero, and it shows up here, and that's also like evidence that some of the scholars think that this is an evidence of the influence of central Mexico in the architecture of uh, of the northern Maya highlands. And that style in particular is used to support the theory of the existence of a particular period in that region named the Epiclassic, which is influence of Mexico in all uh, in all Mesoamerica at the end of the classic period. But there's a lot of debate there, so I'm not defending the epiclassic or anything.
Sure, but absolutely fascinating. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, my pleasure.
Mhm.
Are those little golfers on your shirt?
How can you see my shirt at this point, for God's sake? Enough said, Jim. Enough said. Enough. All right, thank you.
David, did you have a question?
I do have a question. Rodrigo, thank you for, all your years of work on this site. Back in 1994, I had to look up Julio Garcia, and he showed me what was very clearly a mound on his property, and he showed me a bit of stonework, but I'm just blown away by how much you found. I had no idea that there was so much there. You're perfectly correct that this is a really unmistakable passageway to the Ixil area. If you look it up on Google Earth, El Soch is in a veritable cleft in the mountains. It's as if the gods, put down an axe to create this easy
Absolutely.
access. But I'd like to go back to a point you made about the Chixoy background. That Chixoy River was a raging torrent. I mean, I know people who've lost their lives in those rivers. It doesn't take much. Does
Absolutely.
anyone have any idea how the Mayas either got across those rivers or possibly did they not get across the rivers because they went all the way up into the headwaters for this huge U-turn before they tried to cross them?
Oh yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Stoll, and I want to say that it's an honor and a privilege to have you in my presentation because I have read your work, and especially when I was working in the region, I got informed about the social history of the area through your work. Actually, we read a copy of your book that was at Julio Garcia's house at the time. So it's really a pleasure to be here and talking about the such with you. Like I mean it. So talking about the Chixoy River, that's a huge question that of course it keeps open because yes, the Chixoy River was not as friendly as and nice and beautiful as it looks now for the tubing. It's more like what this journalist described in 1910, that the currents were so strong that it was very difficult to navigate and uh, and very difficult to cross. But we believe that we have a very like I don't know very weak theory that this site of La Pita Floja, which means the loose string, might have served as a port of entrance from the Chixoy River, and perhaps the name comes from like one of those bridges made with strings
Hmm.
that perhaps that was used during the I don't know like during the German population of the site or before, and that opens the possibility that this type of bridges might have existed even long before. So basically, one of the objectives of digging and exploring La Pita Floja was trying to find some of the basements or the structural support of one bridge of that kind, as they have been found in the Usumacinta River at the site of El Naranjo in the west of the Maya lowlands. So I think that's a possibility that perhaps there was a hanging bridge, um, but also, of course, crossing the river is very discouraging. So probably there were also routes following the shore of the river to avoid having to cross it.
I know
Thank you.
I've seen those rope bridges with the wooden planks, even back in the early 1990s in Guatemala, but more over by the river that goes by or near on the other side of the mountains of Copan. So in southern Guatemala, they were still using those rope bridges into modern times. Also, I know there's a oh, what was the guy's name? He's passed away, but he saw that at Yaxchilan, he thinks there was a giant rope bridge that came across the river there, and that the remains of the pedestals of the towers that would have been there are still visible today. But David, do you have anything to share with the Aztlander? Would you like to do an Aztlander program in the future?
I could. You and I would have to talk about what would be of interest. Unfortunately, I've wandered, very far from, the social history of Uspantan and the Ixil area. There are things I could talk about, but I'd want to check with you that I could, whether your group would be interested. But you and I should talk.
Sure. Do you have a chance to give me your email address in the chat there?
I will do that right now.
All right, thank you, David. Is there anybody else who would like to unmute and ask a question? Carrie, come up with another one.
Okay, yes. I want to know when Rodrigo would plan to go back. I find it a very interesting site, especially with the caves and the springs.
Okay, that's a very difficult question because I wish I could back as soon as possible, especially considering that that was a project that was intended to uh, give the owner of the farm with archaeological information to develop tourism in the area, and the other part of the objectives was to provide students with information to write their thesis. But now there is uh, plenty of us that already have PhDs. So we're trying to gather together and to do a following up of that research with more publications and go back to those questions that were developing through the process of digesting the information that we collected. So basically, the answer is as soon as possible, and as soon as we can find a grant to go back there.
Well, I look forward to hearing about your further work there. Thank you so much. This is really
Oh,
good.
my pleasure.
Yeah, Rodrigo is actually still in Guatemala from his recent visits out there.
Yeah, I returned to Guatemala City last night from our most recent excavations at the site of El Mirador. We are having we are starting a new project, an alternative project from the traditional project that has been there for a while. So we have a small archaeological project with different archaeological questions. We have a LiDAR map of El Mirador. I wish I had a LiDAR map of Soch as well. And probably soon we are going to have it as well. But we have the LiDAR map of El Mirador, and then we selected some of the areas that are not currently being explored by the other project, the project of Dr. Richard Hansen, and we started a new exploration there, and we just finished it. Uh, period of 40 days working there, and we are hoping the material that we excavated are right in my back that we brought back from Beten. So we are looking forward, like processing them to add all the curation and learn all the information that the archaeological materials can tell us, especially about the history of the sites from the Middle Preclassic to the through the late classic period. There's a lot of information from that we collected.
Were you in El Mirador proper or in the Mirador Basin at other sites or
Oh, we were working at the core of El Mirador.
and was what's it have to do with? Were you interested in the water management or what?
Oh, we now we are just trying to have a chronology of the site, and we are studying e-groups as well at the site.
Oh yeah.
But water management is coming also, like the research of water management, especially with the amount of data that we have from the LiDAR survey that we have. And we did 2 years, 2 seasons in 2022 and 2023 of ground truthing to process and to confirm all of interpretations from the sites. So basically, we walked like every square meter around El Mirador to choose the area that we want to research. So it's very interesting that it means that more research is coming from El Mirador, that there's more initiatives to to get information from that grandiose site.
Well, you need to find a royal tomb at El Mirador and make yourself world famous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the world famous site.
Alan Christensen has an interesting comment. He goes, there was a high rope bridge over the Chixoy near the big hydraulic electric dam and further up the Chixoy that we crossed 4 years ago.
Okay, so we see that that's a possibility of probably a tradition. So it's like as you say that the key point is finding those pillars or those structures that hold them during the uh, classic and post-classic period, and I think that will respond that the key questions of what was the role of that river in for the routes for the trade routes, if they was blocking it or keeping people away from crossing them, or they were uh, they were crossed by those rope bridges.
I would think the cut stones were probably taken to uh, help build some church nearby.
Yeah, and as we have seen from other LiDAR surveyings, I think LiDAR is also a key element in this research because it can help us to find subtle changes on the surface that probably just with a regular naked eye we couldn't find, and we should have to do a extensive survey. So I think that might bring the answer to these questions, this capacity to see in detail the shape of the surface.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions in the chat. Is there anybody else who would like to ask a question?
Rodrigo, this is following up my earlier question about the Chixoy. Are you aware of an American adventure writer named Christopher Shaw, who is an enthusiastic whitewater paddler and who 20 years ago published a book arguing that Mayas were actually able to navigate some of these rivers, not the one dividing Alta Verapaz and Quiche, but uh, further to the north in the Petén. Are you aware of any scholarship holding out the possibility that the Mayas were able to paddle along rivers further north?
Okay, well, I'm not aware of this author, but it's very interesting. It will be very interesting to learn about his experience and his argument. And it makes me think about or remember about of some of the Julio Garcia's anecdotes that probably he told you that he tended to use the Chixoy River as a means of transport when he was working up the river, and that was before the dam was constructed. So the river was still like very strong. So he used to do the tubing with wood and improvising a canoe. Uh, but traveling back from wherever he was upriver to get to the that point of the Pita Floja and walk back home. So that opens the possibility of that could happen. And yeah, I know about this question has been made a lot at the Usumacinta River, which is also it has a very strong current. So people from this Usumacinta River have these theories and options that alternative that those rivers were for sure navigated. So I think that enables the possibility that Chixoy were also navigated with the same technology. Of course, it needs um, more research and perhaps trying to look for specific evidence, like like paddles or perhaps part of an old canoe, like hold kept in the within the sediments of the shore of the river, something like that.
Thank you. Thank you for
Okay,
the
thank you so much. Thank you so much for the information of the author of Mr. Christopher Shaw.
Yeah, David has posted it in the chat feature if anyone's interested. I'm writing it down right now. Alrighty. And Carl would like to know, could two giant trees on both sides of the river be used to anchor a rope bridge across?
Hmm. Well, I'm not sure about that because probably now, as the river is how the river is now, I think it's possible to build a wooden bridge uh, with giant trees. But back there, when the river was stronger, probably that could have been more challenging. I was thinking about the species that are available in the area. Of course, they have some tall cedars and things like that, but still a possibility. But I think that might be more challenging to achieve. Um, Probably in a passage of the river where that is not that wide. But then the problem that when the river narrows down, the walls of the river gets higher. So yes, also a possibility, but still still challenging. So I think a narrow part of the river is more a candidate for a rope bridge.
All right. Well, thank you, Rodrigo. That was very good. And thank you from challenging yourself to do your presentation from Guatemala.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And yes, I'm sorry I was rushing because I had that field season a few like days ago. But I really appreciate for the opportunity and the encouragement to continue to this with this research because it's very easy, like especially for us archaeologists that keep changing or research interest or the site that we work on, that probably will leave behind the sites that we have researched in the past. This is to be a huge opportunity to go back to this research and promote more research and try to get together with my colleagues that also work there and try to build more information and try to produce more information based on what we found there.
Right. And one thing I missed earlier, Jesus made a comment that he thinks the rivers may have been very different 1,000 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jesus. All right, and thank you, David and Carl and Alan and everybody who's asked questions. You've helped to make the presentation even more informative. And Rodrigo, once again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Muchas gracias. And I'll end the program.
Thank you. Gracias a
Thank you,
ustedes.
Rodrigo.
Thank you, Dr. Stoll.
David, I'll be in touch.
Y
Okay.
que tengan todos una feliz noche y gracias por todo.
Igualmente vos. Thanks for watching this Aztlander presentation, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. To subscribe to free monthly issues of the Aztlander Magazine of the Americas, contact your host Jim Reed at jimreedmaya@gmail.com. Thanks again.